Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Five Door Media podcast. We are in season five. This is the season where we're diving into one of the most powerful levers in the cleaning industry: financial clarity. From cash flow to compensation, pricing to profit margins, this season is all about building a business that doesn't just clean houses, but creates lasting wealth for the owner. And today's guest is someone who's helped more cleaning business owners transform their financial reality than just about anyone else in the industry. Debbie Sardone is a nationally recognized cleaning industry coach, speaker, and the founder of Cleaning Business Fundamentals, a program that's helped hundreds of owners grow past 6 and 7 figures with predictable profit. She's also the co-owners of Speed Cleaning and the founder of the nonprofit Cleaning for a Reason. She brings decades of experience not just building cleaning companies, but helping others scale them successfully. Debbie is known for her no nonsense approach to building profitable businesses, her ability to inspire confidence in business owners, and the passion for helping cleaning entrepreneurs finally get out of the field and into the CEO mindset. Today, we're digging into what it really takes to run a financially healthy cleaning business, one that pays you well, grows without chaos, and gives you your life back. Debbie, welcome to the show. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. And wow, that all sounded exciting, that exciting intro. This is one of my favorite topics. So anything that's helping the business of residential cleaning is just right up my alley. So we're gonna have fun.
I love it. Very cool. So let's get into it. And I think what we need to start with is getting real about numbers. You have worked with thousands of cleaning business owners over your career. What's the most common financial blind spot that you see people making when they first come into this world?
Well, I think some of the myths are and the blind spots are that it's okay to be temporarily unprofitable because I'm reinvesting in my business. And that's a major blind spot because residential cleaning is a very low overhead. It's tied to cost of goods sold, and you literally should be profitable from day one. So if you have a residential cleaning business, and I talk to people all the time, especially the startups, right? That will, I'll ask them, what's your owner's income and profit so far? And they'll say, oh, we're not focusing on profit right now. We're reinvesting in the business. And in most cases, when I ask enough questions, I discover you're not investing in anything. Your overhead
Mm.
is out of control. Your cost of goods are out of control. And no matter how big you grow, you're never going to have profit or you're never going to have enough. So, some of those common mistakes is to think that you're investing in your business when you have no profit because you bought 10 more expensive vacuums. That's just part of the day-to-day operations. About the only thing that's investing in your business is investing in marketing. And the ROI, the return on investment, will be proof if it was a smart investment or not. So you should be profitable practically from day one if you're in the residential cleaning industry.
I love that. Very cool. And I think a lot of people, they're scared of that word profit. They don't fully know how to measure it. But I think just the topic of money and finances in general is a hard one for business owners, not just cleaning business owners, but I think just business owners as a whole. Why do you think that is such a hard thing to talk about? Why do you think cleaning business owners avoid the money side of their business for so long?
I think number one, for most people, money is a dirty word. They grew up not being allowed to ask money questions like most of us grew up. We had no idea what our parents made, right? It was taboo to talk about income or to talk about other people's income. So money already has a little bit of a distaste in most people's mouths. They also have the misconception, the belief that somehow making money or making a lot of money or making insanely high amounts of money is sometimes tied to evil,
Mm.
right? And so people up front are uncomfortable talking about money. They will talk about everything but money. This is how great we clean. This is how competitive we're priced. This is how amazing our employees are. They'll talk about everything but money. And once we help business owners look at their business as not a charity, not as a hobby, but as a path to wealth and freedom, you have to talk about money. You have to talk about profit. One of my favorite sayings is revenue is sanity, but profit, I'm sorry, I said it backwards. Revenue is vanity, but profit is sanity. And better said, I don't care how much you make, how much do you keep? I don't care if you're a half $500,000 a year business or $1 million a business. What do you make? For all the hours you put in, what do you make? And sometimes when I do the mathematical exercise with owners, I have found some owners are working for below minimum wage. Below minimum wage. It's like, wow, in the open market, if you were the employee, you'd be in jail. But, somehow it's legal to work ourselves to death and make nothing and keep giving our excuses that somehow if I try hard enough, or if I clean better, or if I wait long enough, or if I even grow the volume enough, then I'll be profitable. But profitable doesn't happen by accident. Profitability has to be planned.
100%. And the conversations we've had on this podcast, the residential cleaning industry as a whole, I hear so many stories of kind of like accidental entrepreneurs, right? You have somebody who maybe started cleaning a few houses on the side just to get some extra money. And the next thing they know, they have an employee. Next thing they know, they have a team. How do you coach people that have that origin story into thinking about money and why money matters? Because I think to them, it happened so quickly, or it was like a snowball effect, and they didn't even have the mental time or capacity to catch up with what was actually happening. How do you coach them from accidental entrepreneur to thinking like a CEO?
Right, to an intentional CEO. So that transition happens gradually, and for some people, it never happens at all. They remain a cleaner in their own business, an employee of their business for decades. And I've talked to somebody just yesterday who'd been cleaning for 20 years. She had 17 employees.
Oh
She
my
already
gosh.
had a pretty big business, but she would still have to go out there and clean. So the first shift that has to happen, and I would say it's a mindset shift because I started just like the way you just described. I started because I just needed a job. I needed some income, and that's how I started my business. So, it really wasn't a business, even though I thought it was because I owned the clients. It was a job, and the only time income was coming in is if I was pushing a mop. And so, the first transition I had to make was to see myself as a business owner, not as a house cleaner. And that's a really big step when you've been cleaning and serving clients and you clean better than everybody you've trained and your clients only want you and you feel like the quality will decline if you step aside and begin to operate like a CEO. But the truth of it is, you own a job, you don't own a business if you're still the one out there pushing them up. And so we have to make the mental transition that it's okay to become the CEO once you've bootstrapped your way to 20 or 30 clients, you have 1 or 2 helpers, and you're still cleaning. It is okay to transition to delegating all of the jobs to competent employees. Now, of course, we have to refine our processes so that we have better training and we do a better job of attracting better employees. We have to refine our processes, but we literally have to shift our mindset that says, when I'm out cleaning a house that I could pay somebody 25 an hour to clean, and I'm out cleaning and covering the jobs or helping out to make sure the job succeeds or covering for another one who quit without notice, I'm doing $25 an hour work. Or in some cases, people pay so low as $14, $15 an hour cleaning. So the only way I can transition to the CEO is to recognize when I'm doing $15 an hour work, $25 an hour work, cleaning a house to salvage that client, what kind of CEO work am I not doing in my business? Well, number one, I'm not building my empire. I'm cleaning a toilet. Number two, I'm not answering the phones when I did some extra marketing and 3 or 4 calls went to voicemail. So if I weren't cleaning, I could be doing $1,000 an hour work answering the phones. And so imagine if you took 4 phone calls and you converted 2 of them and they became your next recurring client. Well, average recurring client's gonna spend $3,500 a year, and if I won 2 of them in that hour and a half or 2 hours I spent answering phones, and I won 2 of them, I just won $7,000 worth of new annual business, and I should be doing that instead of working for $25 an hour, right? In 2 hours, I made $3,500 an hour as the CEO, or in 2 hours, I saved my company 25 or 30 bucks by paying myself to clean. So we do have to value our time more to transition from owner operator cleaner to owner CEO empire builder. Big difference.
I love that because this conversation is going to go well because you have already answered the next question on my sheet, was talking about you're a big advocate for getting owners out of the field and into that leadership, that CEO role. And I was going to ask you, how does that shift impact profitability right away? And that just one example you gave is perfect for that, right? And that's just
It
one,
it
right?
shifts profitability. Yep.
Yeah, it was just one
Sorry,
no,
didn't
no,
mean to
no,
cut
you're
you
good.
off.
It was just that was just one example, like those 2 phone calls coming in, right? And
Mhm.
what I loved about that example was math is math. You can't argue with it, right? We were talking about the average is 3,500 a year for residential cleaning. I'm guessing like 150 biweekly. Uh, it's math. You can't argue with it.
It's just math. Math is the path. And I like to say math is money and money is fun. And so you need to get comfortable with the math. You need to understand it isn't about, well, I feel guilty um, not helping with the cleaning, or I feel like my cleaners will think of me as cleaning is now beneath me and now I'm a hot shot. It's like, no, they won't think that. They actually will feel more confident in working for this company that appears to be going places because the owner isn't out cleaning. The owner is back at the office building the empire so they have a bigger and better future. So that they have a future where they can make more money and someday you can give me benefits and someday I can ascend the ladder and help you grow the business. So, you know, a lot of business owners who started out cleaning like I did, there's a little guilt complex that goes on when we transition out of the field and into the office. It isn't that cleaning is beneath me, it is that it is the wrong role for me at this stage. And oftentimes, I see cleaning business owners who spend a lot of time cleaning and a lot of their personal income came as a result of them cleaning, even though they have a team. And so when they put down the mop and they stop cleaning, they discover, uh-oh, there's nothing left over for me now that I'm not cleaning. There's no profit to pay me. By the time I pay my staff, I pay my workers' comp, I buy all the supplies, I give refunds on the bad cleanings, I pay for my marketing, my phones and my electricity and my rent and my general liability. Uh-oh, there's nothing left over for me. So sometimes putting down the mop exposes that all along you've been
Mm.
building your business on a house of sand because you didn't build in profit when the owner isn't
Yeah.
cleaning.
And I do want to talk about cash flow clarity and pricing in a little bit. That's definitely an important part of this conversation. But I think what you're talking about too is the moment where you discover you have to be building in financial habits, rhythms, rituals into this new role that you have, right? Which is a CEO. What financial habits or systems should be put in place, right? Let's say we are someone who has dropped the mop, right? They're not cleaning anymore. They're spending their time in the office. What are some things that that new CEO should be doing in the financial world to make sure they're heading in the right track?
I'm glad you asked this question because a lot of business owners, once they drop the mop, and I was telling you earlier, I wrote the book, The Mop Free Millionaire, right? So once you put down the mop, oftentimes the business owner doesn't really know what to do. So they end up wasting their time and not doing the right thing. So, just like you said, it's just as critical to have a whole new set of rhythms and routines and habits that move the business forward. So, some of the things that we teach is that number one, you must know your numbers. If you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. And so, the most important thing you can do as the business owner who is no longer cleaning is get comfortable with tracking and having dashboards, whether it's using a CRM or using a piece of paper and pencil or a spreadsheet. I don't care. It doesn't have to be fancy or sophisticated, but you have to learn how to track and measure all of the numbers in the business so that at any given time, you know where you are. You know if you're slipping, you know if you're becoming unprofitable. Um, Another place that business owners must get in the habit of paying attention to is having a profit model. I will tell you, all the years I've been doing business coaching, and I mean, I've had probably by now thousands of conversations, not just hundreds. Every time I've asked a business owner, whether they were startup, new, or advanced, already making millions plus, I have asked, every time I've asked, what is your profit model? The answer I always get is, what do you mean?
Mm.
Like, people don't have their profit model defined. So if you haven't defined the target, then don't be surprised when you never hit it, right? Most business owners, their profit model is what I call the wishing and hoping model, right? It's like you pay the cleaners, you pay the bills, you pay the marketing, you pay the insurance, and you're wishing and hoping there's something left over for me at the end of the month. It just doesn't work that way. We need to adopt a first habit, and then we need to follow it. That needs to be part of our daily routine is to know, where do I stand in terms of profit? I know I teach my CBF Profit Core 3, which is what we call 55, 25, 20. And those are three different buckets that the owner should pay close attention to at all times. Now, there are various cleaning business models where some have teams and some pay hourly and some have cars and some have vans and some do solos where they drive their own car. So all the other businesses will have different profit models than mine, but you should know what yours is, even if it isn't the same as mine. So my core 3 is 55% of the revenue is allocated for the labor, fully loaded. I should be looking at that all the time to make sure it's not getting crazy, like 58% or 62%. So 55% is one of the core 3. 25% is allocated of all revenue for overhead. You just have to know what is legitimate overhead and don't get it confused with cost of goods sold, direct labor. And then my last profit bucket is owner's income and profit. Well, in my model, we've allocated 20%. Now, obviously, if you're a franchise, it's probably gonna be more like 9 to 11%, or if you have the more expensive model with cars and teams and all that, okay, it might be 12 to 15%, but you should know what your profit model is. And if you don't, that's one of your responsibilities. And it shouldn't be cleaning, it should be learning how to identify what is the profit model I want, and then how do I stay tightly within that profit model.
I love that. And profit model is a great term. And one of the things I love about the residential cleaning industry is how predictable profit can be if you're doing it right, due to recurring revenue and job costing, and pricing the right way. But how would you say, what role does recurring revenue and job costing play in that building a predictable, profit
Mhm.
model? Because I think it's such an opportunity in this world that's not like other worlds.
Right. It is one of the most predictable revenue generating businesses a person can choose to be in. You know, nowadays everybody is finally jumping on board with getting into the subscription industry. Nobody wants to sell you one package of coffee. They want to sell you a monthly subscription and ship your coffee every month. Or they want to sell you a set of clothing outfits carefully selected by an expert and ship you these clothing items every month, right? Or shave gear for men, right? Everybody wants to be in the subscription business, and we are the original subscription business before BarkBox and Bulletproof Coffee, right? But too many cleaning business owners aren't seeing their business as the subscription business. They're focused heavily on winning really big one-time jobs like, oh, a $900 move out clean. Okay, well, if they're moving away, that's the last time you get to clean for them. Or, a lot of post construction or things that end up becoming one time. They might be high ticket first time, but what they're not focusing on is this should be primarily a subscription business. So, what I teach in my program, Cleaning Business Fundamentals, is you need to flip your mindset around subscription based revenue. And the residential cleaning revenue should come 90% from recurring. And I meet too many business owners that half of their revenue every month is coming from first time or one times. Half, which means they're not retaining a very large percentage of all their first time cleans. So I flip that and I say, no, your focus should be intensely on targeting clients who aren't moving away from you. And maybe you get a big expensive clean, but it's the only one you ever get. I'd rather have a cheaper clean on the front end, but win their $3,500 a year business for years to come. And so we teach people that when you're looking at your revenue and where your revenue is coming from, 90% should be coming from your repeat business. And if you're in heavy, hard growth mode, I'm okay with it being 80 to 85%. But this 50-50, where 50%, if I'm bringing in 40,000 a month and only 20,000 a month is coming from recurring, I have not focused enough on generating the recurring revenue over the one-time revenue. So that's one of the most important things that you can do. And like you said, because we have such a predictable business, we make our business harder and more unpredictable when too high of a percentage of the work we do day in and day out with our team is the unpredictable first time clean. So shouldn't it be 90% is the predictable weekly, biweekly, Mrs. Jones, Mrs. Smith. We know her cat, we know her dog, we know where her cleaning supplies are located, and it isn't just a new story every day, every house.
So smart, and you're right. That is an opportunity that other industries would kill for, is to have that recurring
Yeah.
model, and, we just sometimes we don't take advantage of it enough. Um,
Too many cleaning businesses act like carpet cleaning businesses,
mm,
right? I would never want to necessarily be in the carpet cleaning business unless I flip my mindset and turn my carpet cleaning clients into recurring, which is very possible. And there's a lot of people leaving money on the table. But most of the time, carpet cleaning is treated like a one-time event or an annual event or call me when it's dirty again, right? And so we're not that. People's tubs and toilets get dirty every week and our clients need us there every week, every 2 weeks. So we need to work harder at converting people to recurring.
I love that. And you mentioned, you know, 90%, I think is what you said, should be that recurring model. But you also mentioned as people are growing or scaling, you'd be okay with that being a wiggle, 2 points. I think that's an important topic too. I think one of your core
Yes.
teachings is that you can't grow broke, right? How can owners protect their cash flow as they are growing, as they are scaling, especially if they feel busy but broke at the same time? Talk through, how do you protect that cash flow when you are in a growth or scale mode?
That's a great question. So, my philosophy is unless you have a ton of cash, and most people in our industry don't, right? Most of us didn't take some settlement from corporate America. We have 150K in the bank, and we have plenty of money cash flow cushion. Most of us started out like myself, cleaning toilets, growing, without money. So, I had to grow profitably because I didn't have money to float me when I was unprofitable. So, that is why it is my philosophy that unless you have a lot of money to grow really hard and invest, you kind of have to not exceed 80 to 85%, and I prefer 90% when you want a little more stability of revenue coming from recurring, because the cash flow issues happen when you do a ton of marketing, right? Which has great returns. So that's what I call an investment. We should be doing it. And at the same time, a ton of hiring and then a ton of training and a ton of onboarding. So if I do
Mhm.
too much of that in a single month, I might not have enough money to pay my bills because the marketing was expensive and it might take 2 or 3 months to recoup the cost, but it'll be well worth it. And then the hiring was expensive because I hired 4 and 2 quit after training. They never generated 1 dime, but they cost me anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000 with all the efforts put into it, right? So if I do too much of that in a single month without some kind of cushion in the bank, which most of us don't have, the the business grows chaotically instead of grows with a pace you can keep up with. And so that's one of the reasons why I say once you are, cleaning and onboarding way more than about 85 to 90% of your revenue coming from recurring, you have more than just cash flow. You have more chaos, you have more stress, you have more new people all at one time doing a bad job, creating refunds and discounts and one-star reviews. So there's just so many moving parts. it's not like some other industries where you can take out a loan and grow really fast. We have so many moving parts that I recommend that you grow strategically with a profit plan and a marketing plan, understanding your cost of acquisition for clients and your effectiveness on your marketing. And when you do that strategically, you may not grow as fast and wild, but you'll grow at a pace that allows you to maintain quality, maintain profit, and maintain sanity, where you won't wanna just walk away and scream your head off.
I've always said like growth is chaos, scaling is controlled chaos. Because no matter what you do, business
Exactly.
can be a chaos at times, but scaling is when you've at least got a control on that chaos, right?
Exactly. Now, I will add this, when you're really, really tiny, you really can double
Mm.
month over month, and it's not really as painful or as chaotic because you kinda know every employee by name. You know every customer still by name because you cleaned their house 3 months ago. So, there at a when you're really small, yes, you can double and triple, and you can create all that chaos that's much easier to manage. But once you get over 150, 200,000 a year in revenue, um, it's really hard to double that in 6 months or 3 months without the chaos taking you out, right? And so it's just difficult to add more than 3 to $400,000 a year in revenue and still maintain sanity, maintain quality, not lower your standards for hiring and training, blah, blah, blah.
100%. Let's talk about pricing, which I think is such a
Ooh, I
topic.
love
Yeah, let's
pricing.
let's talk about it. And I think it's such an interesting topic, and I think it goes back to what we were talking about. Just money in general. People are shy about it. They're afraid to charge in their minds what might be too much. Let's label that as like premium pricing. How do you help people embrace the idea of premium pricing, even when they might say they are in a market, but they're afraid to charge more? How do you coach people through that?
Mhm. So there are several mindset shifts. That's hard to
Yeah, a
say.
little bit, yeah.
There are several mindset shifts that have to take place for you to be able to ask for market value. So too many times those of us who started out cleaning, we're just grateful for 30 bucks an hour. Because when I was a secretary back in the day, I think I probably made $10 an hour, right? Sitting at a desk. So when I started my own cleaning business and people were paying me 25, 30 an hour, I thought I hit the jackpot, right? But what we don't realize is that was when you were a housekeeper. You weren't a professional business with trained employees and insurance and bonding of $1 million for the client's protection and all the expertise that you bring to the table. And so the first thing we have to do is shift our mindset that actually, if you are a professional service, you are actually worth more than you think. So you have to convince yourself of that. I believe trying to be competitively priced is a dirty word. Nobody should ever say we're competitively priced. Are you kidding me? Being in the middle has no advantages, right? Look at Kmart.
Mm,
Look at J.C. Penney's. They're like losing if they're not already completely gone, right? You either need to be the cheapest or you need to be the most expensive. Anything in the middle is just asking for a business that never really makes what it could and never can pay staff what it could and never can grow as big as it should. And so eliminate the word, I'm trying to be competitive. Who are you trying to compete against? Right? So oftentimes business owners will set their pricing based on what they charged as a cleaner and based on what their competitors charge where the owner still cleans,
mm,
right? I actually talked to some business we did a business training last night called 90 Days Mop Free, is how to put down the mop permanently within the next 90 days. And I talked to several business owners on the webinar that were still charging 30 and $35 an hour. They have overhead, they have employees, they have expenses as owners. They're a real legitimate business, and they're still charging half of market value. So the second step I say to gain the confidence that you are worth more is go shop the professional services, particularly the franchises.
mm.
You will discover when you call the Molly Maids and the Mary Maids and the Maid Brigades and all the franchises, when they quote you hourly rates over the phone and they say something like we're 120 an hour with a team of two, okay, they're 60 an hour. Why are you charging 30 an hour? Are you saying you're not worth more? Are you saying you don't clean as good as they do? Right? So the owner needs to shop the professionals and stop paying attention to the underground cleaners who charge 30 or 40 bucks an hour. Don't pay attention to them. We don't care. And here's the other thing the owner has to shift when it comes to pricing. Oftentimes, our clients don't buy like us.
Mm.
When I was out cleaning every day and I finally put down the mop, I still bought my clothes at Walmart. Now, luckily, I've gotten to upgrade where I buy my clothes, but I was still a Walmart shopper. I still bought my clothes at garage sales and thrift stores, right? And so we think with the wrong mindset that that customers won't pay 60 an hour or 70 an hour in certain parts of the country or 85 an hour in certain parts of the country per person, per labor hour. And so we think because we wouldn't pay that kind of money to have our house clean that nobody else would, but it's not true. In fact, back when I was cleaning houses, I was also cleaning my own house,
Mhm.
right? Because I didn't value my time enough to pay somebody else to clean my house. Well, now that I know I'm a $1,000 an hour CEO and my time is worth that, I would never clean my own house. I hire my company, right? And your right fit customers have the same feeling. They're not looking for the cheapest cleaner that they have to manage, that they have to screen, that they have to train, they have to vet, and they have to find another one when they quit, right? They're looking for a professional service so they can be like, "Can you come tomorrow? Here's my credit card. I'm busy. Bye." So the right fit clients aren't looking for the lowest price providers. You no longer have to be them. And so understand your avatar will change. You're looking for the busy professional that wouldn't dream of using the underground cleaners. And there's lots of them out there, the busy professionals with kids and pets. They
Mhm.
don't want to be bothered with it on Saturday morning.
So true. Um, so true. And I think we talk a lot about in the marketing world, whether it's copy or just messaging in general, stop selling services, start selling solutions. Right. And I think so
Yes.
many times we just focus on the details of what the service is rather than what the solution the customer is going to be getting as well. And I think a lot of times when business owners or
100%.
cleaning business owners are starting their business, they haven't experienced the solution of a cleaning,
Mhm.
before at their home. They haven't came home from a busy day
Right.
at work and smelled how clean their home was. So they don't know that solution on a personal level yet. How do you coach somebody other than like, hey, get somebody to clean your house so you can truly feel what your customers are going to feel? And then that's how you can come up with your pricing off of that feeling, not off of just
Exactly.
hourly of how many times did they scrub something. How do you coach people to that?
Well, obviously, again, a lot of this goes back to mindset, especially if we started cleaning for too many years. But number one, every cleaning business owner should use their own staff to clean their house. You know, I met a man ages ago, it's probably been 15 years ago, that told me, he said, I would never let my cleaners come in and clean my house. I have very expensive artwork on the walls. And I'm thinking to myself, what a hypocrite. You think your clients have stuff they don't care about in their house on their walls? And he said, no, I would never let them in my house. So number one, I like using the cleaners to clean my house. So number one, I can report back to my office and let them know, hey, I think you got to keep her, or hey, I think you need to send her back through training, or hey, she walked in the door at 8 o'clock in the morning and said, I'm tired, right? And these are all things that have happened. So number one, use it to clean your own house so that you can experience the joy of coming home to no chores waiting for you. And that is what the clients experience. And number two, understand that you may think, what's the price first before you buy anything? But most successful people who value their time, they are not thinking, what's the price first? They're actually thinking, can you solve my problem? Right. And so when you remember that, that you think they want a discount, what they want is to sleep in and wake up on Saturday morning to a clean house. It's different. It's not, just because a prospect starts the phone call with, I just need to know what you charge. It doesn't mean that's the only thing that's important to them, but we interpret that as price is everything. Well, price is not everything, and it isn't everything. In fact, it's usually 3rd or 4th on the list with the right fit clients.
I heard an expression years ago as well. Don't sell out of your own wallet. Right? And I think that's
Oh,
that's
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 so
such a
good.
good mindset of like, hey, you're not selling your services to yourself. You are selling it to, and I mean anything home service. We were talking about the top 10% of
Yeah,
people, right? That have this expendable income. You don't sell things out of your wallet, right? And I think that's such a good mindset because you don't know what their budget is. You don't know how desperate they are for
exactly.
this solution. I think you're so true about using your own cleaners and experiencing it. I know Libby DeLucian's been on this podcast before, and she even says when her salespeople start, they get their home clean. So when they're selling the services and the solutions of the cleaning business,
Yeah.
they know what it feels like. We've actually started something at Five Door Media. All of our staff, we pay for their homes to get cleaned once a month. So when they're advertising home cleaners, they're our clients, they know what it feels like. And it is just one of those services that you need to experience, right? You need to
100%.
experience what it's like. And then once you have, it's an easy thing to sell.
Yeah, once we have our sales team, all of our office staff are invited to have their home cleaned for free, and then all of our trainers who train the new people, we invite them to have their home cleaned for free because I want our trainers to see how it feels and how frustrating it is to come home and look what was missed and look what wasn't done and look that this is still dirty. So we want even our trainers to experience it because once you experience it, you see it differently.
And you can start charging what you need to charge, right? I love it. Very cool.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit more just about hiring and the cost of hiring and maybe hiring your first few technicians for someone who's afraid to make that jump, for someone who's afraid to make that first or second hire because they're worried about the cost of it. What perspective do you offer there? And I think we talked a little bit about this before. This really is a math problem at the end of the day, and numbers don't
Mhm.
lie. But say more on that, and how would you encourage someone to take that leap?
Well, I'm very strongly opinion about how to grow a successful, profitable maid service. So there are models that people are following that every hire they make is a cost to them. And then they have to catch up with enough work to make it a profit center. But from day one, every hire should be free. Every hire should cost you nothing except for the week of training. And those people that drag training out 2, 3, 4 weeks, then you're just increasing your cost per hire. So I look at one good hire is completely free. If you do the math, and especially if you're following the model we teach, which is a solo model, high profits, low overhead, um, one motivated full-time house cleaner can generate $110,000 a year in revenue by herself in your business. So how is it expensive to hire her when only 55% of that's gonna go to her, right? And I'm gonna have the other 45% to spend on my overhead and to pay myself. And so don't see hiring cleaners. So what we call our cleaners, this is internal language. We don't say this to their face, but in the business world of coaching for maid services, we call a cleaner a revenue generating employee. It's like, well, how many RGEs do you have? They don't really count if they're in training because they're not generating revenue. They really are a cost. I'm probably paying them 18 to 20 bucks an hour to go through training, and they're not cleaning houses. They're helping on jobs we've already cleaned. And so one revenue generating cleaner on the low end can generate $55,000 a year to your business. On the high end, 110 to 120,000 depending on what market you're in. And then if your profit, owner's income and profit is 20%, how is it that she cost you a dime,
Mm,
right? If one cleaner generates $100,000, I just made $20,000 off her if my profit margin is 20% or 15,000 off of one single cleaner. Now let's multiply that by 10 cleaners.
mhm.
Ooh, now I have a $200,000 a year income if I'm doing it right. So you need to do the math. You need to know what does one revenue generator contribute to the company if they're an A player and they're full time. Obviously, that goes down when you keep your C players and you don't fire them and you let everybody work part time. Well, those numbers go down. But what does that generate to your business? And how quickly can I get to 10 happy full time cleaners? Good employees are free. Now, bad hires, risky hires, impulse hires because we're always shorthanded and we don't even start hiring until we're desperately shorthanded. Those people are expensive
Mm.
because, we train them for a week, they mess up for a week and then they quit or get fired. Okay, they just cost me a fortune. They dirtied up all the supplies that I might have to throw away and the uniforms and all the training pay for the trainer and all the training wages. So, it's all tied together. I need to hire smart. I need to hire strategically. I need to hire slow and fire fast so that they don't cost me a fortune on their way out if I made a mistake and I hired somebody with low integrity or low competency. But if you have a good plan and you're working your plan and you're getting your cleaners, your RGEs out cleaning and generating revenue, they are free because the revenue they generate pays for their salary and their workers' comp and their payroll taxes. I am a firm believer that they should always be a cost of goods sold, right? They should not be like admin staff is overhead, right? So when you have an employee that works in the office, you're paying them for 40 hours a week, whether you did $20,000 this week in revenue or $100,000 this week in revenue. You're paying that overhead labor in your office. But with cleaners, all of their pay should be directly tied to the revenue, either through commissions or a combination of commissions and hourly to fit your state's laws, but it should always be a cost of goods sold.
I love it. Let's talk about scaling, and scaling with confidence specifically. As companies are growing past this owner operator stage, right? They're dropping them up. I like that. I'm going to start using that more. What do you wish
Cool.
more owners knew about financial leadership as they're fresh out of that owner operator stage? What are some things you wish they knew more? Not just about knowing the books, knowing your numbers, but that financial leadership, which I think is a separate category than just the science of spreadsheets. It's that
Mhm.
art, right? There's always an art and science to things. The financial leadership, how do they lead their company well financially?
Well, there's several different ways I could answer this question. So I'll just kind of answer it in the most basic way that I think that will help the most people. Number one is the CEO, even if you do have to go out and help clean every now and then, which needs to come to an end with a very defined date. As the CEO, it is your job to make sure the company is financially healthy. It is unacceptable to look at your bank account at the end of every month and you're either operating in the red or there's never any money left over to pay yourself. It's just unacceptable. So don't fail at your primary job. It used to be to clean and do a good job. Now it's to ensure financial health and wealth building. That is your number one job. If you don't know how to do it, get help. Don't just keep guessing or not doing it year after year after year. I talk to businesses that have been in business 10, 20 years that are still very unprofitable. The owner is still making less than everybody else. And so that's your primary job. You have to get good at it. Number 2, in terms of maintaining financial health, you have to look at the numbers every single month and study them. Shame on the business owner who says, "Oh, I have to check with my CPA. I have no idea what my profit and loss looks like." What? Your CPA is to create it, but there's no reason to create a profit and loss statement at the end of the month if you never look at it, you never study it to see where you're losing and where you're winning. Also, a part of financial leadership is knowing what are the buckets where I should be allocating. Like, am I going to plan to allocate 60% for labor? And if it goes up or down, I need to do something about it. What are the buckets? It's my job to watch the buckets. Maybe I shouldn't have hired an extra admin assistant because it doesn't fit inside the overhead budget. We have to grow another $5,000 a month to hire one more person who's a non revenue generating overhead employee in the office. So it's my job to watch those buckets. Quit buying a $1,000 vacuum if I'm no longer profitable and start buying $200 vacuums, right? And then lastly, there's rhythms and cadences in every business, and ours is no different. I love the predictability of the residential cleaning industry. But one of the mistakes we make, as we're supposed to be the financial leaders of our company, is we allow our legacy clients who've been faithful and loyal and with us for years to eventually have very outdated rates. So, in order for me to lead my company financially, I need to have a policy and a process in place to raise all clients incrementally, either annually or every 18 months. I don't care if it's 18 months. I don't like 2 years. And here's why. As the leader of the company, I'm supposed to pay attention that Mrs. Jones has been with us 4 years or 5 years, and she's still paying what we were charging back before COVID. And the person I took on yesterday is paying what we charge today. And Mrs. Jones is 5 years outdated rate. Maybe we were 55 before COVID, now we're 60 or 65. It is my job to put in place a system and a plan to raise her up, ideally gradually and incrementally. Sometimes we have to take underpaying clients that are really just break-even clients and raise them up significantly and be okay with being fired. But that's my job. My employees aren't gonna think of that. My cleaners aren't gonna think, "Oh, I've been cleaning her house for 2 years and wow, she's way underpaying." My scheduler won't think of it, even my payroll clerk won't think of it. That's my job to keep the profits healthy, and anytime you see your profits shrinking, eroding, the first place to look is, "How long has it been since I've raised my prices?" It's the first place to look.
So good. Such a good insight to like the leadership side of finances. I think that's so smart. All right, let's talk more about scaling. What mistakes do you see people doing when they're trying to scale too fast without the numbers to back it up? I think we all get excited about growth. We all get excited about more. We are Americans, right? We want more. But what mistakes do you commonly see people that are scaling too quickly?
So, I'm gonna counter that with most cleaning business owners scale too slowly.
Mm,
Most, right? I rarely see cleaning business owners scaling too fast because they're so obsessed with quality. They're so obsessed with pricing. They're so obsessed with marketing is too expensive. So I have found most cleaning business owners are scaling way slower than they have to. They could handle a little more chaos, a little more unpredictability with 10 first-time cleans a month instead of 2, right? Or in my case, we'll do 100 first-time cleans in a month. That creates a lot of chaos. It creates a lot of effort. It creates a lot of house checks. It creates a lot of mistakes. And sometimes it creates a few one-star reviews. So what happens is a business owner pulls back, right? It's like they try to grow faster and they throw a little money at marketing and the phones are ringing and they're closing deals and then they panic.
mm,
And they get a one-star review and they're like, slow it all down, cut the marketing. We need to fire her, right? It's like, no, most business owners don't realize they actually could grow in our space way faster than they're attempting to. Now, I don't believe in scaling fast and hard when you don't have the foundation in place. Because I was on this webinar last night, I talked to a young woman who said she has like 165 clients, but they're all about half of market value.
mm.
They're literally paying. So it's like, well, don't add another 100 clients with those old outdated pricing where you are not profitable. Let's fix the foundation. Let's get your market rate correct. Let's teach your sales team how to sell on value instead of on price and discounts. Let's do a little more hiring so that you can ramp up the marketing and close deals at double the price you've been asking, right? So when people grow too fast, it's because they're growing on top of a very broken foundation. They're already unprofitable and you want to add 25 new clients? Well, that's just 25 more unprofitable clients. Or you already have excessive employee churn. Well, there's no reason throwing a ton of marketing money and dollars into getting new clients when you can't even service the demand when the phone rings and you're like, yeah, we have a 2-week waiting list and you're proud of that, right? And so growing too fast when you have a broken foundation is one problem, but most people, even with a broken foundation, they won't grow as fast as they could because they're afraid of all the chaos and
Mm.
the potential customer complaints.
You can grow your way to broke. I heard somebody say the other day, and I think
Yes,
that's
you can.
so true. And for someone who doesn't get it, it sounds opposite. Like, no, you don't you grow your way out of broke, right? No, you
Right.
could
In fact,
absolutely grow
here's
your way to broke.
here's the symptom that you are growing your way to broke. In most cases, you're not really broke when you're below a half a million a year, right? And because oftentimes, especially if you're 3, 400,000 a year, the owner is still cleaning at times, so there's some fake profit in there. It's not really profit, it's wages that went to you instead of them. But when you're below a half a million dollars, you can kind of grow with a broken foundation, and it doesn't show up that much that you're growing your way to broke. But it's when you try to get past a half a million. We call that the valley of despair is 10, 20, 30, $40,000 a month is what I call the valley of despair. You work way harder than you should. You are finally making more money, but it's not nearly enough. And then you want to double that and get to a million, but all you're doing is doubling the problems, the lack of profitability, the chaos. So if you grow above a half a million, that's oftentimes if you have a very faulty foundation, meaning your cleaners are not a cost of goods sold, they're an overhead cost. and your overhead is too expensive, your cleaning supplies, your vacuum equipment, and there's way too much leakage, right? Too much drive time that's being paid for, not enough cleaning time. Then you discover all those problems, and your training program doesn't work really well. So you're getting more complaints and more lost clients and more one-star reviews. That's when people say, stop, stop. We're not going to grow anymore. And that's where people stay in the valley of despair, 500,000, maybe 600,000 for decades. And I've seen this over and over again. In fact, 93% of all maid services do not grow above that 500,000 mark. So, how do you get in the top 7%? You need to fix the foundation and then grow it faster than you thought you could. Now, not so fast that it becomes too messy to manage, but faster than you thought.
I love that. It's good motivation. All right. My last question I like to ask is a 60-second elevator speech type of thing. Let's say you're in an elevator with a cleaning business owner who is listening. They're feeling overwhelmed. They're underpaid. They're unsure of their finances. They're lost. They're in that valley of despair, right? You have 60 seconds to encourage them. What do you say?
Well, I would say that basically 97% of the people out there that are employed, right, quit something, right? If you wanna be the 3% that don't work for the employers and you wanna grow a business, then decide, "I'm not gonna quit, but I'm not gonna just settle for doing it the same way over and over again, hoping for a better result." So, don't quit, but don't keep doing the same thing that's never worked or hasn't worked in a year. If you've been stuck for 6 months or a year, there is something wrong. Maybe it's 1 or 2 things, maybe it's all 5 major things. Go find somebody to help you. Find somebody that has done where who is where you wanna be and has done what you want to do. Stop taking all the free advice from people on Facebook. This business is smaller than yours, right? So go find somebody to help you. There are people out there that can help you grow your business. Add marketing, improve all of your professional skills, but go get help. The most successful people in the world, including the Richard Bransons, the Tony Robbinses, the Warren Buffetts, they all say they had a mentor. Michael Jordan, when he was making millions playing basketball, always had a coach
Mm.
coaching him, right? So none of us should go it alone unless we're okay with being kind of tiny and kind of small. If you want to be big, don't go it alone. Find somebody competent to coach you. That is the fastest way to step on the elevator to get to the top of the mountain instead of crawling on your bloody knees to the top of the mountain.
Love it. Very cool.
That might have been longer than a 30-second
I think
pitch.
we would have stayed on the elevator. We're good. Yeah, it's good. Debbie, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. As expected, it's inspiring and it's very practical all at the same time. So, thank you so much for being here and sharing your wisdom. For listeners who want to learn more about working with you or joining CBF, or I do know you mentioned you have a new book coming out, where do they go to find out?
Well, thank you for asking. So, Cleaning Business Fundamentals, also known as CBF, we are the number one residential cleaning business owners academy in the world. We have created more mop free millionaires than anyone on the planet, and you're welcome to use mop free anytime you want. And I wrote the book, The Mop Free Millionaire. It comes out sometime this fall. And, you can just simply visit debbiesardone.com to learn more. Go find us on Facebook, Cleaning Business Profits group, private group. Come join us. And we have tons of free videos on YouTube and, tons of very low cost, very economical webinars that are very specific to the residential cleaning industry. I don't teach or coach anybody outside the residential cleaning industry. I truly believe that specialized knowledge is the most valuable for anybody once they're past the beginner stage. You can take advantage of general knowledge, like general books and general coaching, in the beginning stages, because pretty much everything you learn is what you needed. But once you're past the beginner stage in business, specialized knowledge is what's missing. And so that's what we specialize in I built a $4 million self-running cleaning business, residential cleaning business, 90% residential. And so, if I can do it myself, I can help others to do it too. So Thank you for the offer.
Absolutely. Love it. And if you for watching this or listening to this later and you got value from today's episode, send it to another cleaning business owner or someone who else that you know is struggling and understanding the financials and figuring out the money side of their business. Because we do know when you take control of your numbers, you take control of your business, your time, and your future. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.